Okay, we're making the A-arm for the SAE Baja, the front suspension. We're going to do that using this sketch and a sweep command, and we're working in Autodesk Inventor. Here's a sketch that we worked on in a previous video. It's all fully defined, so let's use the sweep command. The sweep command requires that we make a profile shape that is perpendicular to the line or curve that we're sweeping through. So we're going to say normal to curve at point. The curve we want to select is this one. The point we want to select is this one. So there's a tiny plane on which we can draw our circle and then sweep it along this path. So let's first of all make a sketch on that plane. I'm going to put a circle on that plane right there, and we might have to zero in on it. Drawing the circle from here, typing in 1 inch for the outer diameter of the tube, and then the inner diameter is going to be basically that minus, let's say, 2 times the wall thickness. So the wall thickness is 0.12 standard pipe wall thickness. Now what we need to do is to sweep that shape, or just the ring shape rather, along that path. We might be able to take a closer look at it here, zero in on this, and we begin our sweep by selecting the sweep command from the 3D model. The profile is automatically highlighted, waiting for you to select a profile shape. And our profile shape needs to be this outer ring. So not this one, but this one right here. Then we click on path on that right there and select our path through which we're going to sweep. Let everything else remain the same and then click OK. Let's take a look at what we've accomplished so far. So there is our U-shaped for the A-arm. We can get rid of or hide the working plane. So we'll go up here, right click and turn that off. Now we still have some more features to draw on here. So let's make this sketch visible again so that you can see the other lines through which we need to perform a sweep. We can start with this one. And again, we want to create a perpendicular surface on which to draw. So plane, normal to curve at point. So there is the curve and there is the point. Drawing on that surface, I wish it was just as easy as clicking here. I think I have it centered so it goes to the origin. So that's not ideal the way I have it set up, but we'll go with that. We're going to draw on this circle, on this plane rather. A circle is going to be 1 inch in diameter. And then the inner diameter going to be 0.76, or use a wall thickness of 0.12. Standard wall thickness, and then we orbit over to the side just a little bit, holding down the shift key if we can, orbiting down a bit. Let me hold the other shift, see if that helps. Just a little bit of a motion. So let's try to do it another way. Let's go this direction, or go over here to orbit and see if we can achieve it like this. Much better. So then we go to the 3D model view, select sweep. We need to select our profile. Now this is kind of the tricky part because we need to cut a notch in this tube before we do our sweep. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to select the outer line, and that's going to select the whole shape, and that's going to basically cut off the metal that we don't really need there. So I need to perform a cut right there. And then for the select a curve, I'm going to select this line right there. So I need to make sure that I have basically this outer thing. I'm not sure why it says 7 profiles, um, but it has the one curve path that we're doing here, and make sure it says cut and then say OK. So that looks good. Now, what I should have done though is done another step where I do the extrude. So I can't come back over here and then edit this feature and say I want something else also. So after I finish this sweep number 2, I can say, you know what, it's time for sweep number 3. And so for this one, I want to select, that's automatically selected there, but I want to select the donut now. Right there, the ring, and it looks like it got bisected. So I'm also going to select that side. Is there also something in here? That should not have happened. Let's see if we can orbit over there. Yeah, there shouldn't be anything right there. I'm not sure what I did in that area. But anyway, you select all that shape and then select the path through which you want to go, this one right here. And then hopefully what this has achieved is not only a notch, but also a um, extrude as well. So I got an error right there. So let me stop the video and see what I messed up on. So when in doubt, just hit Control Z until you're all the way out and just kind of start over. So see what I did wrong this time. Maybe I'll do both steps at the same time. So I select the curve and the point to create the plane. And then I'm going to draw a circle on that shape right there. And yeah, that's where it seems to be an issue where it's not letting me look at the part that I want to draw on. Now it looks like it's possible to do it. So I'm going to take my circle, put it right here, type in 1, and then over here, and then do this one like this to there, 0.12. Now let's see if we can do both of those at the same time. Model, sweep. We want the outer profile to sweep all the way through this line. It needs to be a cut. At the same time, or after that notch has occurred, as you can see here, we need to do actually an additive instead of a subtractive measure. The profile we want to select is now this donut. That looks much better this time. Selecting the curve, and it goes right here. Okay, I'm not really sure where I messed up before. That was much easier this time. We can hide the working plane to make sure everything looks good. And yeah, now orbiting over into the middle of this, hopefully we see that it's empty. That's good. So we performed a proper notch. A milling machine would create that notch that you see here, this saddle appearance. All right, let's get some more practice on this. Let's do it again. I'm going to do it on that part right there. And I'm going to see if I can find the feature where it doesn't zoom to the origin afterwards. So let me pause the video and see if I can find that feature for you. So apparently I have a feature turned on in application options under the sketch tab that says look at the sketch plane, even though it's looking at the origin instead. So I'm going to uncheck those to see if that helps when we create these working planes. If you have the same issue, you might make the same adjustment. I'm not sure what the default settings are. All right, so let's go in here, create our plane on this surface, or our plane on at the end of this line rather. Sketch, 3D model, plane, normal to curve at point. There's the curve, there's the point. Now let's see if we can just edit or create a new sketch on that plane. And notice it didn't zoom around. It kind of stayed right where I needed it to be. And I need this to be 1 inch. And I need this other one to be 0.76, just doing the math. Making it a 0.12-inch wall thickness. That's basically 1 minus 2 times 0.12. One way to do it anyway. And so we need to do the same thing again with our sweep. We need to notch this too, virtually with Autodesk Inventor. But then, you'd also do that with a milling machine as well with your tube in the machine shop. So let's perform a sweep cut, this one, and we want to select the profile, which is the outermost one, which will basically knock everything out along the path that we select. We want to make sure it looks right. Usually it's going to be red if it's going to subtract it. We don't want to finish just yet. We want to hit plus because we also want to perform a second option, and that is to add or to sweep our ring shape. So we've notched the tube, as you can see, and now we're going to extrude it using the sweep command along this path. How does that look? All right, it's looking pretty good. Again, we can go up here, hide the working plane temporarily, and I think we can even hide those sketches as well. Is that this one? Let's see, which sketch are I looking at here? Oh, that's the sweep. So I could go up here to sketch number 4 and say, let's not make that visible, at least from this point of view. We also have one out there as well. That's probably this sketch here, and we can make that invisible as well. Making it closer to reality. We got two more to do. We need to do this midpoint extrusion, and then we also need to do this sweep as well. You know how it goes, right? We do plane, normal to curve, select the curve, select the point, and then draw on the surface. Um, Might as well select the circle and then highlight this in green. There we go. Can draw the circle at this point. I'm not sure if I hit the middle exactly, so I'm gonna hit escape. Maybe orbit around just a little bit, so make sure I can lock in to the center. Snap to that, go out to here. Forgot to type in 1. So let's try that again. Snap to that location. Hopefully, yeah, it does say 0, 0. And then before clicking again, I just type in 1. Do it again for this one. And so for this one, I guess I could go in there and do the standard 0.12 wall thickness. And I did not do that right. So I need to do the distance between, oh, look at that. That circle is off. So I need to delete that circle. Should have zoomed in further, right? And coming out to that point, and the distance for the wall thickness, 0.12. Now, I wonder if we can do this thing called look at that it was talking about. Don't see it there either. Okay, I keep thinking that I'm going to be able to find it. Maybe it's under the view command up here. And here is look at. There it is. So look at, and then if we select this plane right here, okay, that's one way to do it. As long as we zoom back. But now I can't see the plane because it's on the other side. That's all right. Let's go ahead and perform our sweep. Now we are going to have to do a cut because we got to notch this out um, to represent what the machine shop lathe does. So we will begin our sweep like this, and then we will go over to, okay, and for this first part, I need to make sure it's a cut, and I need to select the profile, which is the outermost, so it does everything. So it's basically a solid circle when I use the outermost. And then go here, and then here, make sure that's a cut, just double check. And before you finish, you want to add another action for that same profile. And that is to take the circle ring like that and also make that additive along this path. So you see that notch that appeared there? Now we're just sliding the tube into place so that once we finish this, we can see what it would look like to weld along that surface. Let's hide the things that we don't need to be visible, the working plane. And then also we had a sketch that we were working on. We can hide that as well. And we got one more to do. This is going to be a little more difficult because um, what we really need to do is do the sweep in both directions. So I'm going to do something maybe a little bit unconventional here. And that would be to put a midpoint on here and see if that helps us create a plane in the middle. So what you can do is go up here to the top sketch and say edit. And let's put like a little midpoint that's right there. Now, what we could do is use our look at, since it didn't automatically, you know, lock in, we can say look at, and we wanted to look at the sketch. So now it's going to center up for us. And what we want to do is just put a dot. And so it's going to be called a point right here. And we're going to put it somewhere along here. Now, eventually we're going to move it to the midpoint, but I'm just going to put it on that line. Then we're going to use our coincidence tool to find the midpoint and then put that point on the midpoint. Now, why is that helpful? Well, what's going to happen here is we can make a plane through that point. You might remember that when we were going over here to 3D model and making our planes, it said normal to curve at point. Now, the curve is actually a line in this case, and then the point is a point that we made. Now, if we orbit up, we can see that I did make a plane there after all. All right, that's a beautiful thing there. So we'll go and make our circle on this surface. I like how it didn't move around when I did that. And do our inner with the wall thickness, standard wall thickness for these stronger tubes. Or, yeah. more wall thickness. And we're going to try this new thing where we have to, first of all, um, we have to drill a hole in there, right? Um, yeah, I guess we could do it that way. Or we can come back and use that as a notch. Yeah, maybe change the order of operations. Let's just see what this looks like when we complete this process. So if we go sweep and we say do this right here, can we go in both directions? So select the shape. You see it does go in both directions. We can perform a cut, but I don't think that that's really what we wanted to do, actually. We really just want to sweep up to that shape and then stop. So that's not really it. Now, if we kind of finish this up like this, you'll see that it actually looks correct, right? So what's hidden here is inside of this tube is really going through there in our drawing, but in reality, we would notch this tube like this, notch it over here, and then perform our weld on that surface. We're going to be happy with this right here because we're not going to be looking inside of this tube in Inventor, but we will need to look inside of this tube because there's a threaded piece that goes through there, and there's access that goes through this other end. But this is just a support member, so we'll leave that as it is. Let's hide the things that we don't need. Right click, hide visibility right there, hide the sketch. Wonder which one that was. Is it this one? Okay, it looks like that one's already hidden. So let's see if we can find that one. It's probably down here. Let's see if this is it. So can we hide that one? Okay, that actually hid the entire sketch over there, which is really a good thing. Here's the other sketch that we can hide as well. Now we have our finished part. You can make it look a little bit better if you want to with view and just show the shaded areas. Then we can change the material for the surface as well. We know that these can be made out of steel. So select one of these types of steel. So that way it gives it a little bit of a shiny appearance like we're going to see in the machine shop. That looks really good. Okay. Now I think the only thing that I would say would be different is that this one right here is really, it really doesn't need to be that long. But you can turn it in as you have it here. I'm just going to make it more like what it really is inside of this video. So if you want to stick around for that part, you can. Otherwise, you can turn it in as you see it. This really needs to be 1.5 inches on length. So how can you make adjustments like this? You can go back to the original sketch, make that visible, and probably change the length of that. So we can try that. So edit the original sketch way up here and change the length of that. It really needs to be 1.5 inches, is what we really see on our Baja vehicle. If we make that change and move it forward, though, it looks like there's a little bit of an issue. Let's see if we can find it. A little bit of an issue right here. See that overlap? We don't really want it to do that. So that just means that we don't want this line that is 1.5 inches in length to be at the midpoint. We need to shift it down this way a little bit to handle the angle coming in. So maybe we can shift that down maybe 1/4 inch if we're lucky in removing some of our constraints. Again, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to show you that you can make these changes in the original drawing to adapt to what you have in reality. Now, what I'm not seeing here is like the the coincident that actually brings that in there. I'm just seeing a bunch of symmetry things there. If I delete this, I bet it will remove a lot of our, yeah, it removed a lot of our knowns. So go ahead and hit Control Z on that one so that we still have a fully constrained feature. But then we could just make this line something that's just temporary that's used to make the reflection. So we can turn that into a construction line that we use to make this reflection in the first video that we made. And what we really want is a line that's not not like that, I guess you could say. We can make this line even go back to its original size of uh, 2.5, And then just make that shorter piece, make it a visible line. So make sure that we have it so that it has more on this side than does on the other side. So we're not going to make it so that we're not going to make it so that it's symmetric about this point. So instead, what we're going to do is say that the distance between the midpoint right here and that point right there is going to be, oh, about a quarter of an inch. We can try that out just to see if it works. Um, let's see. And then we also need to make the length of this one right here. Not that one, but this one right here. Like that. Dimension from end to end. That one needs to be 1.5 because that's what we really have in the machine shop or in the maker space rather. So if we roll this change forward, we are going to see this original tube, but then you'll see some errors because there's some problems with the sweeps that we had. It's probably because I turned that from a visible line into a construction line. That's probably what it is. If we select a sweep, it says it was right there. So why not just delete that sweep since we're about to redo that? Remember there was two sweeps because one of them was a cut and then the other one was an extrude. But now what we're going to do is take this shape right here. Actually, I guess we don't even need this sketch because it really needs to be along this path. So we can get rid of this sketch here as well. So delete that one. And you notice that this line is not even popping through any at all. So I really need to move it back the other direction. So going back to the sketch, edit, and let's see. Maybe just change it to, I don't know, 0.1. Is that going to be too close? 0.1. And so here we can play around with the design and see what's really going to work. That looks like it might work. Hmm. Maybe we can go just a little bit closer. Let's see how it looks, though. We'll be able to adjust it now that it's not has it doesn't have its midpoint at the vertex. Do our standard thing for our sweep. Plane, normal to curve at point. There's the curve. There's the point. Then we draw a circle on that. Extrude, cut it, or actually sweep rather. Oh, not ready for the sweep yet. We got to draw the circles first. So we draw this circle on this plane, 1 inch. Oh, forgot to type in one. Try that again. One, enter. And then 0.76 is the other one. That gives a wall thickness of 0.12. So remember the two things we need to do here. That is do a sweep cut. So there's the cut. The profile we want to select is the outer one. So it sweeps all the way through and wipes out this material the same thing that our tool would do on the lathe. Oh, I'm sorry, on the milling machine rather. So you can see it's red, so that is the cut. Remember to do the second part, which is now that we've cut through there and made our notches from our machine, our lathe, is we want to select that ring and then click that path. We'll see if it looks better if we say make this a join rather than a cut. All right, no errors over here, which is good. And then we see if our defect is gone on the bottom. So let's go zoom back here a little bit, go back over this way. Is our defect gone? Yeah, it looks like it's got a little bit of a lip right there, just a tiny bit. But look how we can just make that adjustment and then roll forward without a lot of changes. We can change this to 0.2 just to see if that's better and just make sure that it looks realistic. Now I have the object in the lab, so I know that it does look just like that. So let's take a good gander at it before we turn it in. Hide some of the stuff we don't need. So we can hide this sketch. And we can hide, let's see, that last sketch that we did. I wonder if it was this one. Yeah. All right. And then we have one more working plane. You can see it right there. So we can hide that as well. Then we have this gorgeous part here. All right. Now that does look like it's shiny all over. So it is the right material. And we can see then, what it would weigh on our Baja. So we can go down to I properties, go to physical properties. We made it out of carbon steel, which has that density. We can find out that that's going to weigh about 4 pounds. It has a mass of 4.14 pound masses, which weighs 4.14 pounds. Okay, it's got the principal moments. Those are interesting as well, but this is the one we were primarily interested in. All right, so go ahead and save this file as with the name sweep in there this time. So we started off with the file name that just said top A arm, but now what we can do is say this is the sweep. We've taken the sketch and turned it into a three-dimensional tube, a tube object. So save that as sweep. So now we've demonstrated that there's two methods. One of them is using an assembly and the frame insert, um, using standard tubing there. This one uses a sweep command where we make our standard tube each time. And I like the view where we say, just show shaded. All right, have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.